Hey there, and welcome back to Tactical Breach Wizards. My name is Pete, and today we complete episode 3 of what is in fact going to be a full series on this channel. What can I say, I just enjoy the game too much for it not to be. Last time we left off, hot on the heels of mob doctor Dessa Banks, who has been abducted by our nemesis Liv Kennedy, we successfully used a scry spell to locate her. Unfortunately though, the only one we found once we arrived was Steve, the traffic warlock. And well, Steve and our hero Jen here seem to have some sort of personal history, so we quickly pushed him out of a window without much fuss, and then we began our journey to Liboli, a neighboring country or province where Dessa Banks has apparently been taken to. Along the way, we unlocked our first outfit and played through our first dream training mission, and we could do more of that at any point, but for now let's continue with the story. As you can see, Act 2 is only just beginning, and before we set out we have to make one slight change. Thankfully, the game allows us to go back on our perk selections at any point in between missions, so even though we only selected it at the very end of the last episode, we are now going to switch out Zan's conviction in favor of validation, meaning that whenever his predictive bolt fires on his turn, he will gain 1 point of mana. And that will shortly come in handy as we now get things going. Banks is definitely close. My scry is popping off. Are you okay? You're sweating. Oh, just out of practice. Okay, what are we looking at in there? Automated turrets. They're tough, but if you can get close you can just shut them down. That seems like a security oversight. Not a documented feature, just hold the status button and tap reset 3 times. God bless military engineering. So yes indeed, for the first time we have to deal with turrets, and immediately there's 2 of them. Jen also wants us to finish the mission in just 3 turns, while Zan's confidence goal to prevent 2 reinforcements here should be much easier. Now, let's quickly talk about those turrets, because attempting to take them down by conventional means will likely end up being a frustrating endeavor. Not only do they have 4 hit points and 1 point of armor, they also have stability, which means that any attack against them dealing knockback will have that knockback reduced by 1 point. That will be especially frustrating for Jen, who just thrives on pushing things and people around, so we might have to get a bit creative here. Offensively, meanwhile, the turrets basically act like a tracker. They lock onto the closest target and shoot in the 4C phase, dealing 4 points of damage, unless of course the target has taken cover. And speaking of trackers, we conveniently have one of them standing right next to a window here, so let's take them out first to start things off. This now puts Zan in a direct line of sight with the turret, which means we have to take cover, otherwise he will die, while Jen can move up, grab the intel and then also take cover. With all of her attacks focused on knockback, there really isn't anything we can do with her against all of these turrets. On the second of the 3 turns we want to spend on this one, we then have another tracker move in, and at the moment this level does certainly not look like we're going to finish it within the next 2 turns. One big part of the problem is that we can't even make it over to the first turret on this turn, let alone the second, at least not by simply moving our wizards. And considering that we need to get into an adjacent position to shut down a turret, and that diagonal positioning does not work, this first level here already puts us in a pretty tricky spot. However, there are ways to solve it, starting with a rather straightforward attack on the tracker here. Afterwards, we're then going to move Zan to this particular tile right here, 2 tiles away from being adjacent to the turret. And those 2 tiles are important because of Jen's chain bolt, which we are now in fact going to cast on Zan. Yes, this is possible, and without obstacles doesn't deal any damage. The second bolt meanwhile goes against the tracker down here, pushing them into an electrified wall. This will deal 2 points of damage plus 1 from the impact, so that will be an instant kill, and so will be the last bolt, finishing off tracker number 2. And there we go. All of a sudden, Zan is exactly where we need him to be to turn off the turret. However, now the second one has locked onto him, so let's take cover again. Jen, meanwhile, can simply move up. She is safe right here and won't need to take cover. So let's end our turn here to get to what is hopefully going to be our final one. Right, so one more tracker has appeared, but they should not pose too much of a threat. One static blast and one 3-bolt burst will make quick work of them. At this point, Zan also has no trouble getting to and sealing the reinforcement door, which completes his confidence goal, which leaves us then with Jen and the last turret. As you can see, even using all of her movement, she just can't reach it on this turn. Or can she? She does, after all, still have one use of the Gale Grenade, and that is in fact enough to push her back that one precious tile. And there we go, mission completed in just 3 turns, all confidence goals have been marked off. A good first taste of the levels you need to start thinking at to master this game. I see a control terminal for this turret. If we can reach that, we can do better than turn it off. We can mess with its target recognition. If you get to it, try L. Kennedy and Philidor 77. Why do you know Liv's passwords? Well, I respected the hell out of her, but it was very clear that she could kill me and one day might. It seemed prudent. But how do you know Liv's passwords? It's not hard to spy undetected when you only have to foresee doing it. Wow, that's unsettling information. But you really think Liv programmed every turret? No, but she always insisted on having admin-level access to friendly security systems ever since Medial in 81. I'd ask, but we don't have that kind of time. Right, let's hack a turret. It's not going to be easy to reach. Let me try something. I have an old trick I haven't tried in a while. Right, and just like that, Zan has unlocked a new ability, False Prophet. Costs no action but 1 point of mana, and it's essentially a decoy, used to attract the attention of enemies that fire during the 4C phase, such as trackers and turrets. And coincidentally, we have both one tracker and one turret to start us off on this mission, so let's move Zan up right next to the intel here, which then also has both enemies lock onto him. High time that we give them a more convenient target, so let's place our False Prophet in such a way that it's closer to both enemies than Zan is. Now, the False Prophet can't do anything just yet. For the XCOM fans among you, it's essentially a mimic beacon, and at the moment it has our enemies' undivided attention, and to keep it that way, Jen is only going to move on this turn. During the 4C phase, the turret then takes out our decoy, and since tracker and turret had the same target, the tracker also can't change theirs after the fact. Now, this may have given us 1 turn of breathing room, but it certainly has not made the situation that much easier, as we now have to deal with 2 trackers and a turret. At least though, that is where it will remain at, as Jen can now seal the reinforcement door. Still, not exactly the situation you want to find yourself in with half of the turn already done. So, let's switch it over to Zan, who does not even have line of sight on the guy we need to kill. Luckily, after moving him, he does. And this is where we now turn the tide of this battle in one swift move, as Zan now hacks the turret. And just like that, the turret turns over to our side and has also immediately targeted the tracker. And that's a good thing, because it's the end of turn 2, and Jen wants us to finish this one quickly. And so we do. With the turret firing first in the 4C phase, the tracker has no chance to get a shot off, and the 4C phase is still part of the turn, and so we once again complete both confidence goals. Zan, you're pale, man. You sure you're okay? I do feel rough, to be honest. Churning out suicidal time clones of yourself never feels great, but this is different. Did something bite you? Mark on your neck? Does it look like the one on your arm? Huh. Should we abort? Not an option. Our ride already left. Well, Banks is a doctor. Breaking her out of this dive should earn us a checkup, right? Oh, good point. You wanna hang back? I can probably figure something out by myself here. No, I'm good to fight. Thanks, though. Okay, good, because I was absolutely bluffing. Could be a f***ing tank in there for all I know. I think human-shaped, but you're not far off. And yes indeed, that human-shaped tank is a heavy gunner. Stats-wise, actually very similar to a turret, 4 points of health, 1 point of armor, 1 point of stability, but also capable of dishing out 8 points of damage, and even able to penetrate cover with the saturating fire ability. So unless you kill them immediately or break line of sight, you will take damage from this guy. And considering that Jen is once again in a rush and wants us to finish this level in just 3 turns, let's try the kill immediately approach, for which we first breach with Zan here, and then set up a predictive bolt 1 tile to the right of the gunner. Zan's confidence goal is for that bolt to fire before the 4C phase, and I think we can help out with that. As conveniently enough, breaching does move Jen 1 tile over to the right, allowing her to grab the intel. What follows is a chain bolt, first pushing the tracker here into the electrified wall, and then just as a stopping point we also need to target this air canister here, as only that allows us to target bolt number 3 so that it pushes the gunner into Zan's shot. Beautiful, that's Zan's confidence goal completed, and we have also gained 1 point of mana with him. That's because of the validation ability that we grabbed at the beginning of the video. All we need to do now is fire his 3-bolt burst at the air canister here. Even with the gunner blocking 1 tile of knockback, the 2 that remain are enough to take them out. At this point then, Zan can finally move, and while we do still have both time boost or force profit available to us with that 1 point of mana, we can simply end our turn. The sniper in the lower right corner and that turret will take care of themselves in just a second. And that also means that the only enemy that we need to engage is the tracker who just appeared. Although that might be easier said than done. Zan is quick to deliver the first 2 points of damage, but Jen does not have line of sight as it's blocked by the wall. So at this point we once again need to employ the Gale Grenade to deliver that last point of knockback damage. Afterwards we can then move her over to the turret controls to take control of it, which then also seals the fate of the sniper in the corner here. Zan meanwhile can use his movement to get to the reinforcement door and seal it shut, and that essentially completes the level, as for some reason hacking the laptop is not actually an objective. And so we wrap this one up in 2 instead of 3 turns, which then also unlocks the Godspeed achievement. Honestly though, I'm not exactly sure whether or not this is intended. Just to be on the safe side, I have notified the devs about this. After all, on this channel we want true completion to be earned fairly. Hey, when you started to feel sick, was it like a swarm of red-hot locusts were nesting in your pancreas? I would have said hornets, but yeah. Okay, I think we've both been poisoned, it just hasn't hit me full on yet. Jen, I'm so sorry, I can barely walk. I might be done. No, you're gonna be fine, just hang back and rest up. Banks' cell is right there, I'm just gonna clear the room, bust her out, and she'll fix you up in no time. Simple. Well, I guess we'll see how simple this one's going to be, as Zan is now officially considered poisoned. And his movement being restricted does not quite cut it, as you can see he can barely move more than 1 tile, not to mention that at the end of every turn he will lose 1 hit point. Now I assume for balancing reasons the game was kind enough to give him an extra hit point for this one. Nonetheless, that only means that we now have his severely limited services for only 3 turns, and Jen wants to finish this in 4, so we need all the performance we can get. In particular because we are already starting out the mission with a tracker, a turret and a sniper, with a 2nd tracker and a heavy gunner about to appear on the next turn. Granted, the map is chock full of intel, air canisters and even a few explosives. Those can be blown up, dealing 4 points of damage and 1 point of knockback to all targets in the vicinity. So, let's get to it then. Zan's confidence goal is to once again fire his predictive bolt before the 4C phase. So we are setting it up 1 tile to the left of the tracker here, then we move in with Jen, grab the intel and use Static Blast to make Zan's wish come true. However, even without predictive bolt, this would result in a kill, as the sniper here will instantly shoot the first person to cross their line of sight. However, predictive bolt fires first, and thus Zan's confidence goal is completed and he earns 1 point of mana. At the moment though, we have no use for it, and the same also goes for his 3-bolt burst, so we'll just have our 2 wizards take cover to stay safe from the turret here, and then we can end our turn. So, as expected, Tracker and Heavy Gunner have appeared, with the latter also throwing a grenade, so at the end of her turn, Jen will have to move. To start us off, however, we'll switch it over to Zan, now down to 2 hit points, who can now shoot this air canister right here, which will push the turret into the corner and the Heavy Gunner into the electrified wall. And that wall, while not outright killing the gunner, did stun them. Unfortunately though, their grenade will explode in the 4C phase no matter what. Now, let's bring it back to Jen at this point. I think this calls for a chain bolt. The targets in that order are the tracker, the heavy gunner, and the sniper. So, the electrified wall takes care of the gunner for good, the sniper is pushed out of the window, the tracker meanwhile remains, but not for long. Using Zan's 1 point of mana, we can now give Jen an extra action, and that's enough to static bolt our enemy for the kill. Now the turret still has her in its sights and we won't be able to shut it down until the next turn, so the best we can do on this one is to move and grab cover, while Zan can move over as far as he can go and activate his predictive bolt again. This ensures that we will instantly take out one of the 2 enemy reinforcements. The reinforcement door closest to our position has also exhausted its supply, meaning that we no longer need to worry about it and only need to shut down the other one. Unfortunately, this turn 3 here is also the last one where Zan is active for us, so let's make the most out of his last moments and have him blow up the explosive here, which will then instantly kill the tracker. With Jen meanwhile, we want to move over to the turret controls, hack it and grab the intel too. Yes, we also could have just run over to the turret to disable it, but having it on our side is crucial for our ability to also be able to complete her confidence goal. Speaking of which, that confidence goal demands that we finish this mission in 4 turns, and it is now turn 4. And I think if you have paid close attention during that first mission, you can already tell where this is going. Using a regular move, Jen cannot reach the reinforcement door, but using her Gale Grenade she can. So let's seal it, and the turret is then up first in the 4C phase to take out the tracker. So there we go. Despite Zan on the brink of death, we have beaten the mission, including both confidence goals. And with that, we should now have access to Dessa Banks, who, in case you had not noticed it yet, is captured in that cell in the right corner. Please, I know you hate me, I know you won't save me, but please don't let Zan die. He's never crossed you, he's just trying to stop something terrible. Please don't... I used to be a surgeon at Rushwater General. I was good, until I started to shake. I knew the symptoms: Strebeck syndrome. Degenerative, incurable, terminal. But I couldn't lose that job. I couldn't just wait to die. So I hid it. And it worked for a while. I was good enough to compensate. When the kid came in, I honestly thought I was his best shot. I was wrong. I knew it was a bad cut before I saw the blood, and I knew it couldn't be stopped. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. It was over in seconds. My brain was on fire. Every atom in me was screaming for an undo button on my life. Then a pop, a rip, a snap, and it was undone. The cut? Not just the cut, the whole sternotomy. It means his chest wasn't open anymore. My clamps were sheared off. He sat up. Never heard a room full of attendants scream before. Best we could tell, his body had gone back about an hour. The anesthetic wasn't in his system, but a prep drug was, so it turns out I can rewind people. It was another month before I figured out they have to be dead first. So if they're only unconscious, I have to shoot them first. You understand. If I had waited for you to die, sending your body back an hour might not have been enough. The toxin could already be in there. Next time I want a regular doctor. I thought she was a regular doctor. There's a skull on her belt? A red flag, sure, but not slam dunk for necromancer. I'm not a necromancer. Well, you did just raise us both from the dead. That was today. Necromancers raise zombies. Do you feel like a zombie? I do feel incredibly bad, yes. Then I prescribe a brandy. 3? When did you get back? She was a surgeon? Cute story, but try a shorter version for your next set of zombies. And there we go, we have successfully rescued Dessa Banks, and I love the little attention to detail here, seeing that she's actually eating with a scalpel and a pair of tweezers. So, back in the menu, we have earned level ups for both Zan and Jen. Also, very importantly, Dessa Banks is not yet a team member. Now with Jen, we are going to grab the Refreshing Jolt upgrade for her Static Blast, which means that firing her main weapon refreshes her move action so that she can move, shoot and then move again. Considering that in this game too, it's all about the action economy, this could potentially be very useful. We'll actually get to see one prime example of it very soon. With Zan then, there are several options, and I have a feeling that I might end up switching things around again at the beginning of the next episode. One thing that strikes me as rather useful here would be the Persistent Delusion upgrade to his False Prophet, essentially meaning that if the Prophet takes damage, we get our mana back. However, for the moment, I think we'll go with Useful Fiction instead, as this now allows the Prophet to interact with objects, to potentially hack turrets, block reinforcement doors or use laptops. Once again, a nice boost to the action economy, although I suppose we'll have to see whether or not it sticks around. Now at this point, we can then also finally unlock the first confidence outfit for Zan, and once again we'll go in order here and grab Dark Arts to make him look extra mysterious. That's a very good hat. You're a very good hat. Okay, we've exhausted the marketplace of ideas. I'm going to bed. Wait, I've got something for you. Your dog tags? They're my vessel. Keep them with you and you'll get some of my brain future eyes. Your foresight. It won't be as clear as what I see, but it should be enough to save your ass now and then. Zan, I don't know what to say. No one's ever given me that vessel before. Well, you just saved my life for the second time in 2 days. I was barely conscious in there and somehow you carried it. Yeah, kind of fuzzy on it myself. But also, you trusted me on this thing from the jump. No one's had that kind of faith in me in a long time. Yeah, it's nice to have a geopolitical crisis as an excuse to reconnect. It is, right? Alright, that's my sincerity limit for tonight. I'm back to mocking your tactics tomorrow. And back to mocking your age. If you last that long. Alright, so what's next? I've got to meet my contact in Jailipa, pay him for the ride and see if he's got anything new. Want company? Nah, it'll only spook him. You two see the sights. Well, speaking of people you haven't paid, we broke you out of torture prison. And if you want to finish the job, you could get my gear back. I thought I did. You used it to reverse us? Oh, that's just my res back. They also took Ghost Skull Gary and my tibia of trauma transference. The skull in your back, that's not Ghost Skull Gary? Did that skull look like a Gary to you? I firmly believe anyone can be a Gary. Takes all kinds, I guess, but no, that was obviously Nigel. So how do those flasks work? Is it a skink tears base or hex sap? Oh, they're just drugs. I just throw drugs at people. And that works? Well, it works on people who breathe. And what do the drugs do? Loss of balance, drowsiness, some light hallucinations. If you like pushing people around, it makes that a lot easier. I do, but you've got no other craft right now. Just power over life and death? And I can open a portal to a void dimension. Well, let's dig into that. I don't know, I just point this cool-ass key at a wall and something opens. Push someone into it and they come back an hour later with 1,000-yard stare and a newfound interest in investment banking. It's like a window you can put in a wall. Oh, now we're talking. Alright, let's do this. Alright, and just like that, we are now thrown into our very first mission where we also control Dessa Banks. And that portal to a void dimension she just mentioned, the Death's Door, is also part of her confidence goal. Just like Jen's Gale Grenade, we can use it for free once per encounter, and if we manage to push someone into it, they are instantly taken out of the fight. As you can imagine, that becomes increasingly useful the more powerful an enemy is, and for that reason we'll plop it down right behind the heavy gunner. Now Dessa's main action, if you will, is the sedative cocktail, essentially dealing the same poisoning effect that we witnessed on Zan a few moments ago, so a loss of 1 hit point per turn. However, it also increases the effect of all knockback attacks by 1 tile. And what that looks like in action can be demonstrated easily with Jen here, who can move up, grab the intel, and then queue up a chain bolt on these 3 enemies. Not only will this push the heavy gunner into death's door, it will also push the last tracker here a grand total of 3 tiles. And so that's 2 enemies already taken out and Dessa's confidence goal completed. This last tracker here, meanwhile, we won't be able to kill on this turn without wasting our Gale Grenade, and that would be a stupid thing to do, as the poison takes care of them for us. So, turn 2, 1 more tracker has arrived, and we also still have the sniper protecting the laptop, so this shouldn't be too tricky to finish in the next 2 turns to then also complete Jen's confidence goal. Now, the sedative thrown at the tracker here has the added benefit of also increasing knockback damage, so instead of receiving 2 points from being pushed into a wall, they now receive 3. And with a little help from the explosive barrel here, we can also catch the sniper. Once again though, that sniper will survive the turn, but that's okay, they are essentially not more than a stationary turret. So here we are then, on turn number 3, hopefully the last one. But we still have to take out 2 enemies and we no longer have any mana to cast Chain Bolt, but that's okay, we still have the Gale Grenade. And we can now use that to push the tracker here into the explosive barrel. The collision then causes the explosion and with that the instant kill. At this point, Jen can then move, static blast the sniper, and thanks to the recently unlocked ability, she can now move again, and just like that, all but 1 objective is complete. That leaves Dessa to now seal the door, and with that, the level is done. So this is certainly a bit of a warm-up mission, showing us that Banks and Jen work very nicely together, but as you have likely noticed, Banks fills much more of a support role. Okay, what's behind this door is not good. Specifics? I don't know, these tags don't give me a clear picture like Zan has, but it feels kinda blammy. Then you should go first. Oh, real nice. Look, if you can raise the dead too, just shout and I'll waltz right in there. But if not, then you're the only one who can safely die today. Don't like any part of that sentence, especially the part where you're right. And yeah, the objective rather straightforward here. The blammy thing that Jen saw was in fact a proximity mine, placed in such a way that we simply cannot enter the room without triggering it. Jen also wants to finish this one in just 2 turns, and we have a new type of enemy in here, a neutralizer. Just like a tracker, this guy will automatically lock onto a target, and in doing so prevent them from casting any spells. So that's bad, but perhaps not as bad as what Jen is about to go through. With her now dead, we need to rush Dessa over to one of the intel drops, as she can only use her Resurrect ability if she has at least 1 point of mana. Now, on the bright side, that 1 point of mana is not actually lost, it's just transferred to Jen, who will in fact also get to use it in just a second after using the Gale Grenade to push the neutralizer back 1 tile, as this now allows her to target both the tracker and the neutralizer with Chain Bolt. This is also the neutralizer's biggest weakness, I would say. Offensively, they can absolutely cripple you, but they only have 2 meager hit points. So that ends our first turn here, not much more we can do on this one. Yes, Banks still has an action left, but no enemies to throw anything at. Turn 2 then, hopefully the last one to complete Jen's confidence goal. And considering the tracker's position here right next to the window, that should be doable. 1 static blast will send them flying. The rest is then pretty much a formality. Jen can hack the laptop and Dessa can block the reinforcement door. And there we go, nice and swift, but admittedly this was not too difficult of a level, mostly designed to introduce us to Dessa's resurrection abilities. Alright, we're here. They stashed my stuff in the next room on the way to the cells. So what are we looking for, vessels or channels? I don't know what that means. I only know the word arcana from TV. No one taught you how to do this stuff? Well, when you summon the living dead in an operating room, no one shows up with a free ride to wizard school. The cops show up with a free ride to a lab tank, and if you get out of that alive, you go underground. Sorry, I didn't mean to patronize, I'm just impressed you can use vessels untrained. Explain vessel. The key you use to open portals. If an item lets you do something different to your main craft, it's a vessel. Another caster carried it long enough that it picked up some of their crafts. So your key, a dealer in a skull mask gave me that for rezzing her partner from a ketamine overdose. Okay, so she probably had a sideline in Eldritch Gateways. Then anything that just improves your main craft is a channel. So your wand is a channel and your broom is a vessel. Oh my god. I mean, it's not brain surgery. No, I completely forgot I brought my broom. Oh my god, that's gonna make things so much easier. And indeed, we have now unlocked the Broom Breach ability for Jen, which will in fact be a tremendous help on this level, which, to complete Jen's confidence goal, we need to finish in just a single turn. So what is Broom Breach? Essentially, it's a free movement action to go from one window to any other. Jen can use it twice per encounter if the tile behind the targeted window is free. Contrary to what its name suggests, however, it cannot be used to initiate an encounter. At least not this one. Here we still need to go old-fashioned. Our first move with Jen is then obviously to go right next to the window, but before we use the Broom Breach, we're going to switch it over to Banks. First, she can now throw a sedative at the heavy gunner here, increasing the knockback range, and then seal the reinforcement door. Afterwards, we're then going to place a death's door right in the corner here and switch back to Jen, who, thanks to the increased knockback range, can now use Static Blast to push the heavy gunner right into that. Lovely, that's them taken out and Dessa's confidence goal completed. Very importantly, we have also just refreshed Jen's movement action, which will come in handy as we now Broom Breach over into the other room. Now in here, we do not want to interact with the laptop yet. That would open the security door and thus cause the sniper to shoot Banks immediately. Instead, let's defenestrate both remaining enemies with a Gale Grenade. Afterwards, we can then safely open the door and use that extra movement action to get to the second reinforcement door too to block it off and complete the level. And there we go, all of that was one single turn, completing Jen's confidence goal 2 and unlocking the Broom Closet achievement. And so that would be our second mission completed for today. Dessa has recovered all of her precious equipment, and apparently a bit more, and as a result, she has now in fact become a permanent member of our squad. And so, with a third wizard now in our party, and ready to level up too, I think it's time to make the cut for today. For Dessa's first perk, we can choose between upgrading her sedative cocktail or her death's door. I am currently leaning towards the latter. That +1 use per encounter strikes me as very useful, simply because it is an instant kill ability that can take out any enemy regardless of armor or hit points. But I would say that's something we'll decide on next time. For today, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.